Hey, welcome back. Today I'm taking a look at the Womier SK71 and it's a really great pre-built aluminium keyboard right under $100. In the box you get the user manual, some extra keycaps, a 2-in-1 switch and keycap puller, a Type A to Type C cable, and the SK71 wrapped nicely here with a hard plastic cover and some foam to protect it during shipping. The whole thing is around 1.3 kilograms or right around 2.8 pounds. I have the blue version here, and the anodized CNC aluminum case does feel really nice and looks great in person. The keyboard has 71 keys in total, but it's more of a 65% compact layout. Here is the side profile of the keyboard, and it does slightly tilt up from the bottom, and the white part you see here is the diffuser for the side RGB. And from the sides you can also see the cherry profile keycaps as well. There is no logos or branding whatsoever on the front, and on the back is where the wireless toggle switch, the Type C port, the Windows and Mac toggle switch is located, and here is also a slot for the 2.4 GHz dongle. The bottom is pretty plain, there's nothing here, just 4 rubber feet, one on each corner. The keyboard has per key RGB and the side RGB as previously mentioned, and it is quite bright and saturated as you can see even under my studio lights. Here is how you configure the RGB, so the function and / key will cycle through the RGB modes that are already pre-installed on the keyboard, and here are a few examples. For the RGB strips on the side, you just have to hold down function and the right control key and it will cycle in between the modes as you can see here. The keycaps that come with this keyboard are cherry profile and it's double shot PBT material. The blue set here fits the blue anodized case really nicely, but there's also a black theme and a purple theme keyboard if you don't like the blue here. The legends are pretty sharp and the color on the PBT I would say is pretty good too for the price. As for the switches, it only comes with one type of switch and it's the Otemu white switch. It's a really fast and light linear switch with an actuation force of 45 grams. Personally, I like slightly heavier switches which are around 55 to 70 grams, and this is a little light for me. But it does come pre-looped from the factory and it is pretty decent and smooth out of the box. Plus, it also has a transparent top housing, so it allows the RGB to shine through it nicely. The PCB is great too. It's a 5-pin hot swap south-facing PCB, so there is no interference with the cherry profile keycaps. And it's also compatible with most of the switches in the market. The stabilizers on the other hand is one of the problems that I see with this keyboard. It only supports plate mounted steps and the ones included are pretty decent and also factory loop, but if you want to upgrade them in the future to screw in step, you literally can't do that because the PCB does not support screw in stabilizers. And talking about upgrading and modding it, the case here is held together with a few screws so it can easily be disassembled if you want to mod it further. And if you're opening it up, I would say just to be careful with the cables connecting to the PCB and the few screws holding the plate and PCB together. So here are all of the parts that make up the Womier SK71. The top case just has the dividers for the keys, the indicator lights, and the cutout for the gaskets. In the bottom case here, you get a piece of poron foam and a thin piece of plastic for some reason. The poron foam does help to dampen the sound, but I'm not sure why this plastic sheet is included here. Underneath the foam is the 4600 mAh battery on the right and the daughter board with the 2.4 GHz dongle slot here on the left. Here on the side is the plastic RGB diffuser and it is removable and just slots in like this. Here is something you don't see every day, it's just the keycaps and switches mounted onto the quite flexible transparent polycarbonate plate. The plate mounts with these silicone gaskets on the left and right side and uses poron gaskets for the top and bottom. There's also some silicone pieces at the spacebar to help dampen the sound too. and in between the plate and PCB, there's 3 things included. There's another plastic sheet, and I'm starting to think that maybe they left it in on accident. Second thing is an IXPE switch pad foam. And the third thing is a white piece of Poron plate foam, and it's my first time seeing a white version. This is the PCB, and as mentioned before, it's south-facing 5-pin hot swap, and this is how the back looks like. All of the hot swap sockets you see here are TTC hot swap sockets. Honestly, just from that teardown, you're getting quite a lot of stuff just for around $90, but how does it sound? Let's find out. My final thoughts on the Womier SK71 is that for right under $100 it's a great keyboard. And there's only a few things I don't like the lack of support for screw-in stabilizers, and the software for the keyboard can be very limiting as well. It's not like QMK VIA. But to be honest, for your money, you're still getting a CNC aluminium case, a hot swap PCB, and pretty great mods and features included. So if you are interested with the Womier SK71, it will be linked in the description below. And thanks to Womier for the early sample for the video. And that wraps it up for this video. Leave a like if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, and remember to subscribe. And for the meantime, you can watch other videos I've done.